All right. It looks like we're actually back in business on the 1D&D train. So, a video has just been posted, D&D survey results and the future of playtest Unearthed Arcana. So, I'm going to react to this video. I have not watched it yet, so I'll be watching it at the same time you will. Here we go.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about some of the survey results that came from the Cleric and also revised species, and talking about what you can expect from Unearthed Arcana in the future as well. So let's dive in. How'd everyone do?
Well, first, it's great.
Now, I wonder, they say we're going to talk about the Cleric and revised species. That's great. I'm curious because the last time they posted a video about survey results, it was for the first playtest packet, which was races and like those first level feats. And then the second playtest packet had the Bard, the Ranger, and the Rogue. And we haven't heard any survey results about them. So I'm curious if they'll talk about them at all.
Great to be back together in the new year talking about the playtest for the 2024 Player's Handbook.
Right.
And as a part of that, we did indeed receive a tremendous amount of feedback on the Cleric, as well as several revised species options. The Dragonborn, the Ardling, and then the surprise guest, the Goliath.
Right.
Now, I should say, for anyone who took the...
I should mention, so I did post when I filled in the survey, but just as a quick recap, because it was so long ago, I really liked their changes to the Dragonborn, and I had predicted them all. And then the Goliath was a surprise, and I liked it as well. The Ardling, I thought was still a miss. I wasn't too big on the new Ardling.
The survey, when it came out, during the first hour or so of the survey, there was a glitch, and the survey was incorrectly not asking for feedback on the Goliath. Thankfully, our great consumer insights team spotted that, got it fixed, and then over the course of the survey period, were able to gather feedback from thousands of people on not only the Goliath, but also the Dragonborn, the Ardling, and the Cleric. So how did they do?
Yeah, what were some of the key findings?
So the key findings were that Cleric overall, high score. The Goliath, now introduced with different options based on different types of giants, was really popular. It was in the 80s with satisfaction. And the reward for most improved goes to the Dragonborn, who the last time was in the 60s when it comes to satisfaction score.
This isn't a surprise. The Dragonborn that they originally posted was not very good. Big improvement in the last playtest. Just totally fixed. And the Cleric, not surprising either. Now, I actually liked the new Cleric. I liked some of the changes. What I didn't like was how front-loaded it is. And, I did a video where I talked about the issue with one level dipping that Cleric. And I don't know if that's something they're going to address or not.
This time, with not only the revision to their breath weapon, but also the introduction of Draconic Flight, the Dragonborn, with those new wings, soared up also into the 80s. And so the Goliath and the Dragonborn are both on solid ground, at least in terms of satisfaction for those who took the survey. That's always important to remind people that whenever we talk about these scores, they're simply the satisfaction scores of the people who took the survey. We know the D&D audience is far, far larger than the number of people who take any of these surveys. Yeah. So that's why we always have to balance that quantitative data with qualitative data. We look at...
It's interesting he points this out because that's one of the takeaways I had from, strangely enough, the Kyle Brink interviews, is he talked specifically about this, that they understand that, it's different from the people who take the surveys, who are involved in the online community, and just your casual player.
What are people saying on social media? What are people saying in the thousands of lines of written feedback we get? And we have members of the team who are, as we speak, continuing to go through that feedback so that we can drill down under sort of the tip of the iceberg, which is the score, to really get at what do people think about each of these options.
And that said, still the best way to leave feedback is taking the survey.
Absolutely, because by taking the survey, then people ensure that their feedback gets in front of our design team. Because our design team, after our consumer insights team gathers all that data, determines the scores, gathers all of the written feedback, they bundle it up for us and hand it to the D&D design team. And we have several people of our team who then go through that material. And that's why it's almost like writing a letter to our team. The way to make sure it gets to us is the survey.
Okay.
And there was, however, in that survey, one friend who isn't going to make it, and that is the ardling. There are a lot of fans of.
Yeah, I just don't think it just wasn't fitting it. Like they did it the first time, and it was like there's this new angelic kind of race, and then now it's going to be this animalistic kind of race, and it wasn't working. And it wasn't just mechanics. I think thematically it just wasn't working as well. This is not a surprise, and I'm glad to see that people filled in their surveys and let them know.
Of the ardling, but the ardling's time has not yet come, and so.
Why do I feel so bad for the ardling?
I have a fondness for them, but as is so often the case with anything that our team works on, we often see things as, again, it's not their time rather than it's finished forever. And so the ardling is moving out of the playtest for now, and maybe in some future year will return. And really, when we dug into the written feedback that people provided on the survey, as well as looking at what people were saying online, it was clear that with the ardling, the real miss was context for people. And we get that. This is a storytelling game. And the ardling felt a bit too much like it just came out of nowhere. And so our takeaway is, as enchanted as we are by these animal folk with celestial origins, the place to introduce them is a place where we can provide more story context for them and their entry into the multiverse.
That is an interesting idea. If it was a setting book and they were somehow fit into the setting thematically, I think that could work a lot better. I do think there were some mechanical things they needed to tweak out as well. But that's a good point that, context is important.
And so that's why I say, it's not for today. They're not going to be in the player's handbook, but that doesn't mean they will not visit us at some future date.
Very excited for the new version of the Goliath. I think that itches a scratch for a lot of people. Yeah.
And it even scratches an itch.
Yeah. It itches a scratch. Yep, it's been a while, everybody. Perfect.
So when it comes to the cleric, we find this with classes. We get a lot of written feedback. We're still going through it. But the initial findings are there's a lot of positivity about some of the new features, like the new Holy Order feature, where people get a little more customization with their cleric, and some of the other options in the class. But before we jump to any sort of design conclusions, we're going to keep drilling to really tease out as many nuances as possible to make sure we do for the cleric what we plan to do for every class, and that is make sure that the revised version of it really sings for the people who love that class. That's what I often like to say. We make the cleric for people who love playing clerics. We make the fighter for people who love playing fighters. We view each class as its own aesthetic, its own gameplay style.
Its own fandom, really.
Yes, yeah. And so that's why it's critical for us to do that extra investigation. And so far, signs are good that people like the direction we're going in. But again, now for us is the really fun development work of digging into the details and making sure we can truly deliver what people want for the cleric. And we're in the similar process with the ranger, the rogue.
What I'm really wondering is, so one thing that was controversial was moving the subclass pick from level 1 through level 3. I'm sure a lot of people were okay with it, but I know some people weren't. I'm curious if he'll talk about the results for that question in particular.
And the bard. And then very soon, we will be kicking off that process in the next Unearthed Arcana for the druid and the paladin.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. If I was a horrible person, as someone who is a fan of the undead and necromancers, I would just send negative, unfunctional.
Druid and Paladin are two of the classes I'm most interested in seeing. I know me and my patron community have been speculating about Aura of Protection on Paladins and whether that will remain the same or whether it's going to be potentially nerfed. We'll see. And then Wild Shape, of course, for Druids. It needs a new system. Even though I've been doing videos on Wild Shape, it needs a new system, and I'm curious what they've come up with.
Feedback for the cleric, just to weaken them a little bit more for my brethren. So,
you're a DM plant.
Yes. That's accurate. Were there any other insights that were surprising about the survey?
So not surprising so much as illuminating. We really love when we start doing that mining in the gold mine that is all this feedback that people provide, of getting these insights, these illuminations on what do people find fun. What are the things that we're experimenting with that are enticing or exciting to people, and which ones are falling flat? And so we've also been doing a lot of digging in the feedback we've gotten on the rules glossaries that have appeared in the previous few Unearthed Arcanas. And so people in the next UA are going to see some changes based on us doing some digging. And this is some really interesting digging because, and this is why I used earlier that iceberg metaphor, where satisfaction scores will give us a certain indication of sort of where the wind is blowing for the people who took the survey. But what we then find as we start drilling down is, do the comments back the score up? So for example, sometimes something will score really high, and you'll go into the feedback and people will write, this is awesome, and here's why I like it. This is why I can't wait to use it. That's what we like to see. We like to see that positive high score being echoed in the written commentary. Sometimes, though, we will actually get things that get a decent score, but then we go into the feedback, and instead what people are saying is, this is fine, or I could live with this, or I guess this change is okay. That's a red flag for us. And so there are actually a number of things that purely on a quantitative level in the survey scored well. Like, great example is the jump action that we were experimenting with. Experimenting with it purely because we wanted to see, could we make a simpler way for people to jump? That simplicity came with a cost, which was your action. The action itself scored well. So if we were to make our decision purely on the score, that action would go right in.
I'm kind of surprised it scored well because the idea of having to use your action to jump is like a big change from what we've had. Though I do think we need some kind of rules for jumping beyond what we have so that you don't have this like jump on your turn, right? Like, somebody being a spike growth and, I'm just going to jump through it. There needs to be a little more refinement to those rules, but an action was pretty hefty.
Into the new player's handbook. However, when we started digging, we realized it was a whole lot of meh. It was a whole lot of, I could live with this. That's not good enough for us because, again, not only is the game all about having fun, we're also talking about a game that we are evolving. It's not a new game. It's a game people are playing now, and we want to make sure that if we change something, people are able to look at the change and say, the game actually measurably just got more fun.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at the commentary and we're not seeing that, even if the score sort of passed our pass threshold, which is 70%, we give it another look. And so, for example, because of that look, the jump action is out. There is in the change log for the next Unearthed Arcana. The only place the jump action appears is on a list of things that have been cut. And people will see there is now a list of things that we experimented with. Sometimes, again, because we wanted to see, could we make the game.
I'm fine with them getting rid of the jump action. I hope it gets replaced with some other, more refined rules for jumping, though.
Move faster. Could we improve how one piece of the game worked with another? We still have those goals, but if something didn't land, or if it landed, but again, it wasn't delighting, then we'll go look for another way to accomplish that goal while leaving many of the original rules intact. So people will see in the next UA notes of that thing we were playtesting is now out of the playtest and just use the 2014 rule in that piece's place.
And there have been some questions about the survey and the playtest where like certain abilities weren't there the next time and they thought, or like spells weren't there being playtest, like Eldritch Blast. It doesn't mean we're getting rid of Eldritch Blast. So this is like another way to be more transparent about what is staying and what's going, what's working, what's not.
Absolutely. And Eldritch Blast, for instance, isn't going anywhere. It's just right now.
I mean, it better not.
No.
What will I do?
I want to cast
It's going to be
Eldritch
a
Blast.
class feature for Warlock.
No, it's not. It's not in the arcane spell list right now because we're considering making it just a Warlock class feature. But when we get to the UA that the Warlock is in, by then we will have made up our minds.
Right.
And then it will be established.
Perfect.
Okay, so apparently it's not confirmed that it's going to be a Warlock class feature. They're still in the decision phase. But certainly that was the speculation, like all along, is Eldritch Blast going to be a Warlock class feature? Sounds like maybe.
But the thing to remember throughout this play test is that
It's both.
It's both. That unless we say something has been removed officially, that means it's still in play. It very well could still end up in the 2024 Player's Handbook. But then we're starting to have some things where I can definitively say they're not going to be there, like the ardling. The ardling is out. But I can certainly say the cleric will be there. And a lot of what people are seeing in the cleric will be in the next version.
If you included puppy art of ardlings with puppy faces, it probably would have made it. If you want to manipulate, sentiment.
So a lot of the fan art that we already saw cropping up for ardlings was a lot of really adorable good boys and good girls. And that's again why we think they might get another shot someday.
You and I are going to be doing things a little bit differently. We may be having follow-up videos as well before, to launch when the survey results open up, just based off feedback that we're already seeing out there. People wanting a little bit more clarity about features that are included in the playtest by survey day. So
yes.
Yeah, we'll have more videos about this.
Absolutely.
And then the schedule's changing.
Well,
not so much changing,
it's
but
just now we have our 2023 schedule.
Yeah.
So in 2023, we're going to come out with UA every few months. So we have the next UA coming out in the next few days, and then we're looking at around April for the next one to come out, and the next one is going to be chunky. And so there will be a regular series of releases, but it will be again every few months.
Yeah, so we're moving away from like that almost monthly cadence to just chunkier bits bi-monthly.
And one reason that we're doing that is, again, the feedback.
Now, so obviously the elephant in the room is that the schedule got effed up because of all the OGL mess. So they have to rework the schedule. So it sounds like we're going to get fewer playtests, but bigger playtests. I know the intent is still to have the 2024 release of the new Player's Handbook. So we will see how chunky the next playtest is. It doesn't sound like this one is going to be any bigger than it was originally announced, because it was always going to have the Druid and Paladin.
So we saw last year when we were started off with the UAs being more rapid, one of the pieces of feedback we saw, not only in the surveys, but on social media, was people actually asking for more time between them, so that there was more time to playtest, more time to ponder, and also in the hope that more time would mean that each release could also be a bit bigger. And so we listened to that feedback, and there's no need for anyone to worry. We will still be playtesting the same amount of things. It's just gathered up in different bundles rather than little monthly bundles.
And you're getting more videos, so.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect for me.
Well, and me too, because it means I get to talk with you.
Excellent. So yeah, that's basically that's our kind of our coverage of the survey results from the last UA. That's an update on what you can expect for the schedule, and also more videos on UA. And you and I are also going to get into more design process evergreen videos throughout the year. So kind of like showing people what's going on under the hood kind of stuff, I think, like masterclass kind of style videos. So that will be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I look forward to it.
All right, so there you go. Playtest is back on. Looks like we're going to get it in the next few days, they said. Now, it is Wednesday as I record this, and normally they had been releasing on Thursdays, so maybe tomorrow. We'll see. And it sounds like they'll do some follow-up videos. They'll need to, because they didn't really talk about what's in this playtest that we're going to be seeing, as much as talking about the previous playtests and the things that didn't make it from it. So we're going to want to hear about, we're going to be seeing, of course, changes to Druid and Paladin. We're going to want to know why they made those changes. So as they do follow-up videos, I will continue to look at them and comment on them. And of course, I will be going over the playtest when it comes out. So thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.